Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Lehman, and this is a video for those of you at home right now who either missed today's class or the students who are home right now and having some difficulty with their homework, which was the Lesson 5 exit ticket for Module 6. So this says Lesson 5, describing a distribution displayed in a histogram. So essentially what you're learning to do here is relative frequency. So calculators are allowed, and I told my students that today in class. It says Hector's mom had a rummage sale, and after she sold an item, she tallied for how much money she sold the item. Following is a frequency table Hector's mom created. So what we're going to do first, before we do this, is review the skills that you need to be able to be successful on this. So let me go back a few here. That thing's going to be annoying. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, so one more. Okay, so the first thing that you guys learned really in 6th grade math was how to write ratios, and you discovered that fractions are actually a ratio, and you guys, since you were little kids, learned how to write part to whole fractions or part to whole ratios, and you would put let's say you ate 1/8 of a pizza, right? You ate one slice out of a total of 8, and you put the whole amount on the bottom and the partial amount on top as the numerator, right? And then you learned that the fraction bar means division. So let me do an example with you. So let's say 1 out of 5 of the marbles were blue. Okay, 1 out of a total of 5. So we want to find out what that is as a decimal. So to turn this fraction into a decimal, that line between the 1 and the 5 is what we use for division. I'm trying to get my smartboard to work, if you're wondering what that awkward pause was. All right, calculator, here we go. So now the ones we're going to be doing on that worksheet tonight is definitely more difficult than 1 divided by 5, which you could all do, I'm sure. But anyway, oops, not 1 divided by 2. I'm telling you, I typed 1 divided by 5. 1 divided by 5, there we go, equals 0.2 or 2/10. Okay, so when you do that division, 1 divided by 5, you're going to get 2/10. Okay. And that's how you convert a fraction to a decimal. All right, so that's a little review. Then what we're going to do is we're going to convert those fractions to decimals. Then we're going to convert the decimals to a percent. So let's say we had 2/10, right? And we want to turn that to a percent. Essentially, to make this into a percent, percents are out of 100, we have to multiply our decimal times 100. And that means we basically just move the decimal place over twice. So that would fill in a 0 here. So 2/10 equals the same thing as 20%. All right. So quick review there. I'll give you another example. If you have the decimal 0.375, right? We're going to take that decimal point, move it once, move it twice. So that equals 37.5 or 37.5%. Right? It also works like a lot of kids today. I think we're confused if they have something like this and there's no decimal, or I'm sorry, there's no or numbers. You have to add a digit. So that would be 10%. All right, let's get back to the lesson here. As far as the review, we have a rounding aspect to this homework problem as well, and this should have been reviewed, but I know some of you are a little rusty on it. So here's a place value chart I just made. So we have the ones place right before the decimal point, and then after the decimal point we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and 10,000ths. So tonight on the homework it asks you to round to the nearest thousandths place, which as you can see is the third spot right here past the decimal. Okay, So let's say we have the number 0 and 1,352 10,000ths, all right? And we need to round it to the nearest thousandth spot. So what you do is you look at the spot you need to round it to. In this case, we look at the 5, okay? Then you look one behind it, all right? So we're going to look to the right of the 5, which is a 2, all right? So we're going to then use this saying I have over here on the right-hand side that says 5 or above, give it a shove, 4 or below, let it go. So we're going to look at this number, this 2. If it's 5 or above, that's saying that we want to bump this number up to 136 thousandths, but if it's 4 or below, which this is, we're going to let that 2 go. It's not quite strong enough to make that number jump up to the next thousandths place. So again, this is 4 or below, so we got to let it go. So what we would essentially do is get rid of that number, okay? We're saying that it's closest to 135 thousandths, all right? Now let's do another example. All right, what I have it to there? Okay, and so that would round to 0, 135 thousandths, right? Example 2, let me scroll up a bit. All right, so one that you might round, or you would round up on, let's say we had this same basic number, except for we have a 7 in the 10,000 spot. So again, we're rounding to see if we need to make this 5 a 6, or if we need to just leave it as a 5 and drop everything else behind it. So we're looking to see if we need to change this. We're going to do that by looking at the spot behind it, the 10,000ths place, the 4th spot over. That's 5 or above, so that is strong enough to bump this up to 136 thousandths, all right? So again, go with the saying 5 or above, give it a shove, 4 below, let it go. You look at the spot behind where you have to round to decide if you're going to move that number up or drop the extra numbers off the end, all right? So one thing too, we become a little more inexact every time we round, so that will come into play here shortly. All right, so back to the exit ticket and the rummage sale. We have the amount of money in the first column, so 0 to less than $5. There were 2 items that sold for that. The frequency is 2. Now we have to find the relative frequency. Same for all of these intervals, they have a 5. So what we're going to do first is write a fraction. So you're going to start with looking at your frequency. You're going to put that as your numerator, in this case 2. Now our denominator is the total of all the items sold. So here's all the numbers of items sold, so we're going to add that up. So what I would suggest you do, and I told you this in class, is you're going to add another column here, and this will be our, a row. This will be our total row. All right, so we have 2 plus 1, which is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 plus 10 is 17. 17 plus 5 is 22. 22 plus 3 is 25. 25 plus 2 is 27. So if you take the time to add all these up, you're going to see that she sold 27 items at her garage sale. So that's how you get the denominator. So we have 2 out of 27. All right, so what we're saying is a part-total ratio, 2 out of 27 items were sold for between 0 and less than $5. So we're going to go to our calculator and do this calculation, because why not? All right, so we're going to clear this out from our old problem. 2 divided by 27. Remember, you type in your numerator first, the top number, divided by the bottom number, and that equals a really fun number that is next to impossible to see on that screen, but it says 0 and, well, I'm just going to say point. It's going to be 0.074074887, I think. I may be wrong on that. Again, that's virtually impossible to see, so let me just do it on my real calculator here. Smartboard is not the brightest thing around. Haha. Anyway, so when you do this, I'm going to close this out, and you'll have a calculator hopefully at your house or maybe on a cell phone that you have. Computers have them. Should be pretty easy to get your hands on a calculator somewhere. So anyway, you're going to end up with 0.074074074, and that keeps repeating that pattern. All right, so what we want to do is round to the nearest thousandths, because when you look down here, it says complete the relative frequency column, round to the nearest thousandth. So I'm going to underline the thousandth spot in blue, so that's the third decimal place over. Right here, that's a 4. So we're going to look next door to it, and that's a 0. Because that's a 0, that's not going to bump that up to 75 thousandths. It's going to remain the same. It's 4 below, so we're going to let these go, okay? So that is pretty close to, and I'm actually going to change this equal sign just for accuracy to an approximately sign, 74 thousandths, all right? So I also recommended to you that you add a percent column. So let's just do that now. So the percent here is this number, but we're just going to move that decimal spot 2 to the right. So if I take that decimal point between the zeros and move it once and twice, it's going to be 7.4%. Right? And again, this is rounded, so that's not exact. When we get to the end where everything should add up to 100%, it's going to be just ever so slightly off. All right? Just a little hint, it should add up pretty close, but not quite, because we're doing rounding. All right? So let's do one more together so that you guys have an idea of what's going on. All right, so this next one, we're looking at the number of items that are between $5 and less than $10. She had one item that sold for that price. So it was 1 out of a total of 27 items. All right, so let's go ahead and do that division. I can show you on the calculator, but I won't be able to read the screen, I promise. It's very fuzzy on here. I'm not sure if it's showing up good on your computer screens or not, or showing up well, but it's not doing it very well for me right now. So 1 divided by 27. All right, so 1 divided by 27 on my calculator, it shows, whoops, please hold, technical difficulties. It shows that is 0.037. I'm going to chop some of these numbers off here because I'm going to have to round down, and it's getting into that pattern again. But again, I want the third spot over, right? That's what I have to decide if I'm going to make that an 8 or keep it a 7. So if you go next door, that's a 0. That's going to, that's 4 below, so we're going to just let that go and let it stay a 7, okay? So that's approximately 37 hundredths. So we're going to move that decimal spot twice. That's going to put the decimal between the 3 and the 7, and this now has become a percent. All right, I'm feeling generous, so I'm going to do one more with you. I'll do this one in green. All right, so again, we're doing a part to whole ratio. 4 is the number of items sold in this interval, 10 to less than $15, out of a total of 27 items. When we divide that number, 4 divided by 27, on a calculator, you're going to get a repeating decimal that is 0.148, right? So 0.148, and then 148, it keeps going. So far we've done a lot of rounding down. We're going to do that again because we want to decide, are we making this 8, this thousandths place? Are we going to keep it an 8, or are we going to bump it up to 9? Well, based on this number behind it, we are going to keep it an 8 because that is not enough to bump that up to a 9. So now we just have to move that decimal spot 2 to the right to convert it to a percent. So that's going to be 14.8%. All right. So again, we've rounded down now 3 times in a row. So if I had to guess, we are probably going to end up with a relative frequency that's just below 1. Okay, so not a relative frequency, but a total. You know, when we add all these numbers in this column, it'll be a little less than 1. Hint, hint, hint. Okay, anyway, and then, you know, all of your percent should add up pretty close to 100 too. All right, so not 100 and 2, just 100 also, I should say. What was the total number of items sold at the rummage sale? So I did that with you. I'll let you answer that on your paper. And then complete the table, so you have some more to do on your own. And it says, what percent of the items Hector's mom sold was sold for $15 or more, but less than 20? So you got to look for that interval. What was 15 to less than 20? All right, and figure out that as a percentage. All right, I would like to say thank you for watching. Tomorrow I'm not going to be able to be at school, so I will have a video uploaded in a little bit of the lesson for tomorrow. Please save that for tomorrow, and if you're out also tomorrow, you can always check it out over the weekend or whatever. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in real life on Monday. Have a great day. Bye.